All right. Pull this up here. All right, what is going on, everybody on YouTube? Griffin here, coming back to you guys finally with another stream. Just making sure that we are up and going. It looks like we are. Get the chat pulled up here, of course. And as always, if we have any technical difficulties with the audio or anything, do not hesitate to let me know. First and foremost, if you're new to me and just wondering, who the heck is this guy? My name is Griffin Thomas, of course. I'm the owner of the company, specifically Preferred Pest Management, that you probably see on your screen right now. And on this channel, I just kind of document, our overall entrepreneurial journey, so to speak. Right now, we are primarily in the season of our pest control business, growing that business, specifically doing all sorts of things to try to grow that business. For those of you that don't know the story, I worked in the pest control industry for about 3 years before starting my company. I was working for Terminex at the time, and during COVID got cut like a lot of people, right? How's it going there, Freddie? Good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you are right now. And literally 4 days before becoming certified is when they cut me. So I was like, well, time to go ahead and jump right in and start this business. Grew that business to a 6-figure business our first year, and posted a video about that, more so just kind of updating my subscribers, because I had about 1,000 subscribers or so at the time already, and I hadn't posted in a while. If you look through all the videos on my channel, I just, like I said, document my overall entrepreneurial business owner journey. What works for me, what doesn't work for me, all that stuff. And I was like, man, I've kind of left everybody out, dry, so I'm going to give everyone an update. And that video popped off. It has like 7,000 or 8,000 views. A lot of you all have seen that video and subscribed from that video. So I was like, okay, maybe there's a lot of people who are looking to start a pest control business potentially, or just looking for business ideas, if nothing else. Didn't think there was, this many people looking for information like that. But I know me personally, when I go online looking for information, it's usually, marketing companies, SEO companies, this and that are just trying to sell you on their service more than anything. So I just kind of, post things that do work for our business, don't work for our business, answer your all's questions, which is what today's stream is going to be about. A lot of you seen the short that I posted earlier this week, where I'm finally getting over whatever stomach virus I had. Thank God. Man, that thing was crazy. And a lot of you started posting questions on there, because I pretty much titled it, post your questions here, because I know I'd been missing a lot of your all's questions. So I wanted to just hop in and I have them all pulled up here. I'm going to answer those. And then, of course, if you have any questions and you're tuning in live, that's what I have the chat pulled up for. So do not hesitate to ask any questions or anything like that. That's why I keep this pulled up here. That way, I can answer that real time for you. But with that, we'll just kind of hop right in. I'm going from newest comments to oldest, essentially, just because that's what's pulled up here. So the first question comes from Tropical Fruit Loops. They've been tuning in for a while now. Appreciate you all tuning in as always. He said, just received a job for a multi-residential apartment building. The monthly service charge pays poorly, but the unit treatments pay well. I'm guessing he refers to individual, if there's German roaches, bed bugs, things of that nature. The building is approximately a 50-mile round trip. I'm afraid if I take this job, I will not want any unit work and will only want monthly service. And I will be stuck with a poor paying, time consuming job. Thoughts on this? Have you ever had landlord or apartment managers try to take advantage? So I don't want to say it's just landlords or property management companies, things of that nature. I mean, we all have had those customers, regardless of which sector of pest control you've worked in. Residential, commercial. Obviously, commercial is more broad. You have the apartments, and you have schools, hospitals, daycares, restaurants. regardless of which sector of the pest control industry you've been in, we have all ran into customers in every single sector who they try to take as much as they can. And usually, sadly, it does tend to be the customers who want, the cheapest, which a lot of times will be, landlords. Property management companies, not so much, but if the landlord is, like the landlord and property manager, like the owner, the owner's doing everything, those tend to be kind of the biggest headaches. If there's an actual property management company managing the property, doesn't tend to be as bad from my experience. They just got to get the okay for whatever from the actual owner, landlord, whatever you want to refer to them as. But at the same time, you say 50 miles round trip. It depends too how big your route is. You say 50 miles round trip, that's assuming just for that one stop, I'm assuming. So if you have other stops around that area, then you can do what we do. Like, I am hyper focused all the time. I would pull up my Gorilla desk, but I don't know how much everything would be showing right now. I don't want to give away customer information, obviously, or anything like that. But my point is I'm hyper focused where, like, literally I go in every day and just I'm moving stops around based on whatever calls I got, regardless if it's, extra services, new starts, whatever the case may be, because day to day you get those type of calls and things of that nature where you're scheduling it for next day. I may have a whole day hypothetically already scheduled out, but say I get a call and it's 30 miles in the opposite direction of everything else. I'm probably not going to worry about that. I'm going to focus on, okay, let's push this off a day or two, and then pull some other work that may be later in the month up to that's in that area around there, if that makes sense. And that's why we do not confirm our appointments 90% of the time until the day before. And by day before, I mean usually between 4 to 8 p.m. I just send out a quick little automated text. I just copy and paste it, change out the time frames. And, if it doesn't work for a customer, it's not a big deal. Most of my customers it'll work for. It's just if there's an inside service needed or something like that. Then you might have to move it around. But my whole point is you're worried obviously about that 50-mile round trip since you mentioned it. If possible, just try to schedule some work around there. And the other thing too, of course, goes back to, the first thing you brought up is the monthly service charge pays per. Assuming that you are the owner of the company, you determine that ultimately. That is where, like, me personally, I don't really have any apartments or things of that nature. I have more like restaurants, daycares, things like that, where they're willing to pay the price because they do not have a choice in the matter of, restaurants, for example, they'll get shut down. Daycare, same thing, like they will get in big trouble. I take on commercial clients where like they don't really have a choice. They've worked with, the quote unquote cheaper companies who don't really do a good job, and then they see me and they're like, whoa, here's this pretty expensive, considering the cheaper quotes that they get. But once they go with me, they're like, wow, yeah, we definitely get what we pay for, right? So not saying that you're falling into that cheaper category, but if you're not okay with your pricing, then it may be the fact that, you're not pricing accordingly in terms of, valuing your own time. Because I always, going back to your 50-mile radius thing, I always price in the fact that, I want to assume this is my only stop of the day. What do I need to make if this is my only stop of the day or my technician's only stop of the day for us to still make money? I don't want to assume. A lot of companies will say, well, you can make money on this. Like I think you even mentioned. Let me pull it up here again. Let's see. But the unit treatments pay well. I mean, unit treatments, like we said, I'm assuming you're talking about like bed bugs and things of that nature. But what I was getting ready to refer to is a lot of companies getting this mindset of, okay, we're really not going to make hardly any money on the general pest control, but we'll make money on the upsell, we'll make money on the rodent, we'll make money on the German roach, we'll make money on the bed bug, which a lot of companies anymore are starting to kind of price their, specifically with like apartments and hotels, they will price in, German roach, bed bugs, sometimes even rodent with the rodent bait stations, things of that nature. So there's a lot of ways to go about doing it. It's just you got to make sure, however you're going to do it, that like you said here, like you're worried that you may just not even want to do it. Price it to where, if they say, yes, we want to do this, you're like, awesome. It should be a win-win for both sides at the end of the day. They should feel good about it. You should feel good about it. If either side doesn't feel good about it, there's going to be friction later on down the road. So cannot stress that out enough. And hopefully, I did not even check. Hopefully my microphone, okay, my mic is working. I was making sure. I've done that a couple times where for some reason the mic is muted. So I wanted to make sure. Our stream is doing all right as well. So we got a couple of you tuning in here. But yeah, that was from Tropical Fruit Loops. Hopefully that answers that question. That's actually somewhat a common question overall when it comes to like pricing, or not necessarily pricing, because obviously pricing is different, but the logic that I was referring to about how, it needs to be a win-win for both sides, that's very, very, in my opinion, true when it comes to pricing really anything, but specifically when it comes to commercial. A lot of smaller companies fall in the trap of trying to keep up with, the Terminexes, Orkins, whatever big company is near you, where they're pricing just ridiculously cheap. And my whole thing on it, which has worked really well, again, for like restaurants, daycares, things of that nature, because every single time price comes up, they're like, yeah, you're definitely a little bit higher than, the people we've been using, but, and then I cut them off because I know exactly what they're going to say, and I'm like, but I'm assuming you call me because they're not taking care of the problem, right? And they're like, yeah, exactly, like, we're getting shut down, blah, 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 and I'm like, yeah, that's not going to be a problem with me. Like, it's going to be, in the case like German roaches, it's going to be a process for a few weeks, maybe even a month or so, depending on how bad the situation is. Setting the expectations, just the more knowledgeable you seem, the easier it is to justify that price. Whenever they trust you, price is almost never, an ultimate objection. If it is, then, it is what it is. That's where, again, we go back to you're not going to get it all. So, like I said, hopefully that kind of answers that question. Next one here, and like I said, if you're tuning in live, don't hesitate to shout out your questions there in the chat. Next one is from Bryson Jones. Looks like he actually has a couple questions here. So I'll start out with the first one. Do you spray for mosquitoes? Maybe talk about that and how often you do it. I'll probably make a video around this over the winter as well, but because I know a lot of you guys will be hopping into mosquito season next year as well, we do definitely do mosquito services. I maybe even talked about it here and there. We started out by doing just spraying once a month. Found that, it works decently, but it's not the best. So then we started doing every 3 weeks. Noticed some pretty good results doing that. And then we started adding the Into Care mosquito bucket system. If you don't know what that is, I even have a video about it on our Preferred Pest Management YouTube channel about how it works and everything. I even use it on my own home, as a matter of fact. Funny, there's a bunch of like knockoffs now. But this one is by far the best. You usually have to get it through a supplier like Viserys or something of that nature, Target, Pest Supply, things like that. But it's pretty straightforward. You just fill the bucket up. Cool thing too is it has a little draining system here, so there's no way to really overfill it. But you just fill it up. There's like a couple lines. I usually fill it up to the second line. You dump your chemical in there. There's like 2 little tablets you throw in there. I always make sure that the packet's all cleaned out, nothing extra in there. And then you put this little, what you want to refer to it as, I call it a cartridge, but I'm sure it's called something else. I forget the name of it off the top of my head. I think they just call it Into Mix. It's just this little wrap that you wrap around this little plastic, almost like a octagon like type of deal. You just wrap it around there, place it in there, change it every month. It even has like a little, I called it a timer. It's not really a timer. It just has 12 numbers on it, and you just twist it for each month that you're doing it on. That way you can make sure that it's, one, been changed when it's supposed to be, and two, to know that you're on pace with doing it. And with doing these two combined, spray and the mosquito bucket, we have gone back down to only needing to do that once a month for the customers that are on that plan. And then we do offer these as like a standalone service. We're very upfront with customers that, hey, if you're just going to do these buckets alone, you're probably only going to see about a 50 to 60% reduction overall by themselves, which is still a considerable amount compared to, I have some customers who, before we set these out, I mean, I remember vividly in Rockwall, Texas, right off the lake, a customer didn't have any type of service, and I went and sat the bucket in the area, and mosquitoes at least 2 or 3 dozen mosquitoes just went flying up out of this little, I forget the name of the grass. It's this really long type of grass that people put in flower beds sometimes down here, but they just have this alone, and they're like, yeah, we're pretty satisfied. They only had 1 month where they were like, yeah, mosquitoes are pretty bad right now. That was September, I believe, August or September. But other than that, they've had it since May or June, and they've seen pretty good results with that as well. But my whole point is, that is how we sell it now. We sell it primarily as Into Care with mosquito sprays once a month. In terms of pricing, it varies. If a home just needs 2 of these buckets, you're talking roughly just a standard, quarter of an acre roughly type of home or less, then we usually price it to get started right around $139 plus tax to get started, and then usually right around $119 per month going forward during mosquito season. Sometimes cheaper, sometimes more. Again, there's things that go into how much spraying is going to need to be done, because of how long is it going to take, how much chemicals are going to be. Do we need a 3rd bucket maybe, or even a 4th? Like I said, there's moving parts there. Nothing's cookie cutter, obviously, but usually on average, we're around, after the initial setup, we're usually around $115 to $125 a month for that service. So hopefully that answers that question. Let's see. He wrote a big comment here, and I appreciate the comment as well. He says loves the videos. Let's see. He just bought a Tacoma 2x4 access cab for the business. Maybe you can go over these questions. What is credit card processing fee when you charge for people's credit cards? Do you charge before? So I don't charge any credit card processing fee. That's just, again, something that we price into our overall price. The reason being is I feel the consumer specifically feels like you're starting to nickel and dime them. We did, when I very first started the business, I did charge 3.5%. It was just included in the invoice. I did that for probably less than a month, and I was like, you know what? I know whenever I go into like a diner or something, right? Go out to eat, and I see a charge for, credit card processing. I'm like, man, come on now. Like, really? So just based on my own feeling, and then what I see other people, especially since COVID, I noticed people really started taking issue with it. I was just like, you know what? Let's just price it in, because you're still technically charging for that credit card processing fee. It's just you're pricing it into your service. Like, why create more? Again, it's all about friction. Why create more friction, which is going to lead to more objection, when, the sales process and all this stuff is already, tough enough, as it is. Like I said, just figure out, if you know that, okay, if my service is normally, just for an easy number, $100 a service, I know that my processing is usually around 2.9, 3, whatever percentage you're paying. Usually most of them are like, 2.8 or 2.9 plus a penny or plus 5 cents, something like that. But let's just say 3% for an easy number. Okay, that means every $100 that I do, I'm going to have $3 going to credit card processing, up your price to $105. Like, just whatever you want to make that price. The whole point is that, one, it's so small that in the big scheme of things, it's really not a big deal. I want to say since I started in business, let me do the math real quick, because I can come up with that number really quick for you guys. Let's see, 0.03. I have paid $12,000 or less since I started my business in credit card processing. That's hundreds of thousands of dollars that have been put through the credit card processing, and you're talking $12,000 or less that's been spent on credit card processing. So like I said, one, it's such a small thing that I wouldn't lose sleep over it, stress out about it. And I definitely wouldn't be putting it on your invoices or anything like that. Again, going back to the whole, why create an objection and create friction in the sales process, in the customer retention process, all that. That's just my 2 cents on that subject. Seems pretty straightforward in my opinion. If you all need any clarification on that, let me know. Let's see. If I need to buy chemicals, where are the best supplier to get those products and other equipment? We use Viserys. I've talked about them a couple times. I actually just mentioned them a little bit ago, talking about the Into Care. Viserys, as well as Target. And what else is there? I mean, even, believe it or not, guys, sometimes even like eBay, I bought a gallon jug of Onslaught Fast Cap for $260. You know what the normal price is? I can take you to Viserys right now. And this is why, especially when you're a smaller company and you have the time to, price out your stuff, right? It's important to do so. What? Hold on. I have to go. Let's see. I guess I must have closed it. Give me just a second. I'm trying to prove a point to you all about pricing because, it all adds up. I cannot stress that enough. So, log in. Pull up our chat here really quick. Yeah, like I said too, I'm just trying to prove a quick point to you all about, so let's see, we'll do Onslaught Fast Cap. So 1 gallon of Onslaught Fast Cap, it's normally, I want to say about $390. Okay, so yeah, they even upped the price. My God. $462, or if you buy 2, $437. And like I said, I got a gallon jug of it, $260 on eBay. Now, who do I think that chemical came from? Let's be real. Probably some employee, stashing stuff from, one of the big companies. You guys know how employees are at the end of the day. But guess what? I'm not going to not buy it because of, someone's going to buy it at the end of the day. And if I can save $200 plus tax on that purchase, that's a big, 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 big deal. Because pull up the calculator here. It takes about 1 ounce per gallon. You can do half an ounce, but for the accounts I use, they have scorpions, they have spiders. It's usually customers that are like out in the country or off a lake, something of that nature, new development where there's a lot of disruption going on. So we usually just use it at the clean out rate. So 128 ounces. So if it costs, like I said, I think it ended up after like shipping and stuff being like $265. You know what? Let's even say $270 just to be ultra conservative. So if you're using the full clean out, that comes out to $2.10, pretty much $2.11 per gallon. We use an average of 3 gallons per house. So you're talking about $6.33 roughly per treatment. Where if you bought, and again, this is Viserys. This is who we use. I go there at least once or twice a month usually because they have an actual physical location where I'm at. Let's say I bought this one after tax, that's gonna be pretty much $500, smack dab on the money. Divide that by the 128 ounces, it comes out to $390, pretty much $391. Now let's say we use 3 gallons of that. Looky there, you just almost doubled your cost per treatment. You went from what was it, like $630, $640 to $1172. And that adds up. Let's say you were for some reason wanting to use this at every house and it's costing you an extra $5 per treatment. Let's say you're doing 12 treatments per day. Let's say you work roughly 21 days out of the month. That's an extra $1,260 a month. And again, we don't use that as like our go-to. My go-to is Lambda 9.7. as well as like tempered. Tempered, we only, it's not even, I'm not even gonna say that actually. Pretty much Lambda 9.7 is our go-to anymore for like our standard general pests. And then we use like Fast Cap for spider and scorpion, consistent bad issue homes, and then we use like either tempered, sometimes even Taurus on customers who are dealing with some type of, ant issue or things of that nature. Those are pretty much the main chemicals we use. But my whole point is definitely price around, because like we just shown there, you can save a lot of money. And people think, oh, it's an extra $1 to $3, per gallon. No big deal. Like, no, it is a big deal. Like, not paying attention to stuff like that can put you out of business, especially whenever you are very new and you have very little money to work with to begin with. Let's see, what's our next question on starting a pest control business? I think you had another question in here. Let's see, legal things that you should and shouldn't do in pest control, like when servicing homes, like treating full yard, treating on rainy days, spraying chemicals above head level. Maybe go over how effective the service really is. How often do you get calls for reservices? Our reservice rate, it fluctuates. Like, I will have months where I have like 1 to 2 callbacks. Then I'll have some months where it's like every week I'm getting a few callbacks. I'm guessing that plays into the question about how effective is the service here. I would say the service is definitely effective, just because, when you do enough treatments, especially on like German roaches, bed bugs, carpenter ants. Like, I love getting those type of jobs. They can be a headache, don't get me wrong, but I love those type of treatments. There's nothing better, like in my opinion, for example, than when you go to do, say, a fire ant treatment where there's fire ant mounds everywhere. And that's specifically in like these southern states, because the chemical that we use, Top Choice, it's only legal in like 12 states or something like that, because the only states where there really are fire ant issues. But there's nothing better than like pulling up, seeing a bunch of ant mounds. You come back 3 months later, because you got them on, quarterly with fire ant control. You come back 3 months later, no ant mounds, right? Nothing better than like actually seeing, or like a carpenter ant treatment. Even German roaches, the ones where there's just, you see visual evidence of like, oh yeah, like we knocked that shit out. Like it re-solidify, if you ever had any doubt like about the profession, you do a few of those treatments and you see and you know what you're doing and you see what happens. It definitely makes you, one, it makes it easier to sell, because you're like, I'm confident, one, in my ability or my technician's ability, or whatever the case may be. I'm confident that we're going to take care of your issue. But also it makes you just, it's, I guess, kind of a pride thing too, probably. Let's see. Do you tell people that you'll never see? No. So that is one thing. Never, ever, ever tell people that, this is where we were talking a little bit ago about setting expectations. Worst thing you can do, setting yourself up for failure, bad reviews, etc., is to tell people, regardless if it's residential, commercial, I don't care what it is, you're doing pest control treatments. The one thing that I stress to people is this is pest control, not pest elimination. I tell them, anyone that tells you that they were going to just come in and you're never going to see a pest again, they're lying to you. I'm just being completely honest with you, because I'll have customers occasionally who, talking about callbacks, reservices, they will not see nothing for a while. And then out of the blue, they'll text me and be like, hey, we saw a roach. And down here we deal with like American roaches, smoky brown roaches, like a lot of people down here refer to them as water bugs when they're not water bugs. But they'll be like, I seen a roach, and it'll be dead on top of that. And I'll be like, first thing I will ask, if they don't say that it's dead, is I'll be like, is it dead or alive? And 9 times out of 10, oh, it's dead. And I'm like, okay, that means that they crossed the chemical barrier. It took them a few minutes, few seconds, few minutes to, kill them. Like, I can't kill it twice. And sometimes you have to explain it to them, because I always, whenever we sell it, whenever I show up to do the service, and anytime there's a callback over something small like that, you take every opportunity to just reinforce that, hey, this is pest control. This is not pest elimination. As a matter of fact, if you're not seeing a single pest, like, I'm doing almost too good of a job. Obviously not, but you know what I'm saying. Like, you never want to set yourself up for failure and that is the number one thing that like door knockers specifically are horrible about, because of course they're not experts in the pest control industry. Most are just college kids working a summer job, and they'll say anything to get the sale. And yeah, that's the number one way that you can set yourself up for bad reviews, disputed charges, pissed off customers. Like, I would rather lose a potential customer for being honest than bring a customer on that's going to end up being a headache, blast my name online, dispute a charge, whatever the case may be. And that's where like your service agreements come in hand, notes on invoices come in hand. Like, you can never be too diligent with how you explain things. People don't want to be sold anymore. Way easier to be straightforward. Set that exactly. Yeah, yes. I couldn't agree with you more. Like, the old days of over promise and under deliver. Like, we are with technology, with the word spreading like a wildfire quicker than ever. We are now in the undersell, over deliver economy, which in my opinion is great for us, because we're not just businessmen, like, or businesswomen, whatever you may be. We're also consumers as well. Like, I go around, I look at everything now based on, are they over promising me or are they under promising me? And the ones that are under promising, those are the ones where I'll be like, yeah, we need to go with that guy, or we need to go with this company, or we need to, whatever the case may be. Like, if they're kind of like, yeah, like almost kind of skeptical about things, I'm like, yeah. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, you don't want to be like permissive or not confident in your service, your product. This is for any type of business. You don't want to be underconfident or undersell. But at the end of the day, you want to set, like you said there, Freddie, you want to be straightforward, set the expectations to where you're under promising, so when you do over deliver, the customer, like, I had a customer send me a text message over, I think it was last weekend. Maybe hard for me to find it because it was earlier in the week. Oh, there it is. So she sent me, I went out there October 6th, last weekend, last Saturday morning. Less than 24 hours, or right at 24 hours essentially, she sent me a picture of a dead roach. I don't know if you guys will be able to really see it. Let me see if I can do that maybe. I can't see it on my end, so I don't know if you all will or not. But she sent me a picture of a dead American cockroach right at the doorstep, and she said bravo with claps. And even me, I was like, damn, it's only been 24 hours, but lets me know the products I'm using are really good. But because I told her, I was like, don't be surprised if anything, you may notice a spike in activity and then it'll start to drop off. She, because I told her to actually expect more live activity, seen that dead one and was like, holy hell, like, this is working already. Awesome. So I under promise. I told her, hey, if anything, you may experience a boost in activity for a few days and then it'll go down. So she was already expecting, hey, I might see some bugs. Like, he told me this, it is what it is. Next day, she sees dead bug already. She's like, wow, like, this is ahead of what he was telling me. There you go. Simple as that. Now, of course, we had already sold her. She paid for the year, yada, yada, yada. But she could have easily, if I hadn't explained that, that whole process, and just kind of, oh, yeah, I'm here, let's just do it, and, get the money and move on. She could easily send that picture and be like, hey, I'm seeing a dead roach. Like, why am I seeing this up on my front door? That's where, again, cannot stress it enough. Like, to me, it's like the most basic customer service, but for a lot of people, it just doesn't come naturally. I don't know. Let me see. I think that was it for his questions, I believe. If I missed anything, he can let me know. Let's see. Tony Sanchez says, like the videos, keep it up. I love. Okay, yeah. No, I appreciate your all's kind comments as well. Just gave him a heart on that. Crumpman says, how do you charge for German roach jobs? How do you charge for exterior fire ant jobs? Speaking of fire ants, we'll get into that. I'm looking to transition my mosquito business to pest control at the beginning of 2024. Thanks for all you do. Yeah. So fire ant treatments are pretty straightforward. Because if I recall, let me pull up the label so I'm not misspeaking. Because we use Top Choice for our, fire ant treatments. And if I recall, it's like 50 pounds per acre, something like that, maybe 80. Let's see. Here's the label. Pull this guy up. Let's see. 87. That's what it was. So 87 pounds per acre, or 2 pounds per 1,000 square feet. So you just work out, like, what I'll usually do is I'll pull up the overall lot size of the address. I'll ask them for the address, then I'll pull up the lot size if possible. If for some reason, most of the time it's pretty easy to find a lot size, but occasionally if it's a new build, it's not possible really. And if so, I'll treat it kind of like a termite treatment. I'll take my measuring wheel and I'll kind of just make squares of the yard. Sometimes it's real easy because these lots anymore are practically rectangles. But I will just measure it out, do the basic math real quick in my head to figure out how much I just convert it to acres because it's easier to do. And then from there, I know how many pounds of it we're going to need. We usually buy it in 50-pound bags. 50-pound bag is usually, if I recall, like $115, which we've only purchased this through Viserys, because it's actually pretty hard to find it for a reasonable price anywhere else. So yeah, as low as $97, as much as $117. Usually the more you buy, the more you're going to save, of course. We don't do enough of them to justify buying 11 or more. But, if you end up selling, it's something where, of course, the more and more of these fire ant customers that you stack up, maybe a year or two down the road, you'll want to start purchasing like 11 or 20, save that money, right? But, that's how we do it. And then from there, we just price it again. If I know that, okay, one bag, 50 pounds, is going to cost me $117, and I know that 87 pounds is going to do an acre, how I would do this is after tax, that's going to cost me $125 divided by 50. That's going to cost me $2.50 per pound. So essentially, whatever my pounds is going to come out to, say, for example, I'm going to use 100 pounds, I'm charging $5 per pound. So if I'm going to use 100 pounds, that's a $500 fire ant treatment, if that makes sense. So you're making essentially $2.50 minus, of course, your obvious expenses, wear and tear on your vehicle, gas, paying you, etc. But, if you're going to use 100 pounds, you're going to come out $250 on top, if that makes sense. And usually a fire ant treatment takes, depending, for a 100-pound treatment, that's quite a bit. In all honesty, that'd be about an acre and a tenth, roughly, give or take, somewhere around there. Just rough math. That would probably take you about 45 minutes to an hour to do that, roughly, depending on what type of spreader you're using. I suggest having both spreaders, hand spreader and one of those, the ones that you push and it releases it. And for settings, I believe we have the setting for the hand spreader. It's set on like the lowest or second lowest setting. And then for the actual push spreader, I believe we have it set at like 3. It's been a while since I've had to use the push spreader, but either 3 or 5, something like that. And then going forward for their, renewal of the fire ant treatment, we just do like spot treatment as needed, if that makes sense, which also makes that price go down after the first year. Some companies will keep that price the same or raise it and go out and do a full on treatment again. I have found that, it's not really necessary. It's kind of overkill. Plus, you're putting fipronil all over the yard. How healthy is that for our, talk about the whole ecosystem and everything? Putting fipronil all over the freaking yard. I think there's some due diligence and common sense needed on our end. Um, you know, I'm not like some tree hugger or anything, but just, again, common sense in my opinion. And you can still make money off that fire ant treatment as well. Let's see, I think he says something else too. Oh, German roach treatment. German roach treatment, it's another thing that varies. For a standard home, 3 bedroom, couple bathrooms, kitchen. Kitchen is where 90% of those German roach jobs begin. Usually, you're looking at, if they're going to pay up front, which is a 3 treatment program over 9 to 10 weeks. If they're going to pay up front, we'll cut them a deal. It'll be $595 plus tax. But if they want to pay as they go, it's going to be $275 plus tax. So how does that work out? If they go that route, it ends up being $825 plus tax. Now, the main thing is people that go this route, they're usually going to have you come out one time, think that, they're seeing a bunch of dead roaches and the issue's gone. And then 3 to 6 months later, they'll call you back and they'll either try and do that again or they'll wise up and go ahead and do the yearly treatment at that point. I always tell them, though, there is no guarantee when it comes to German roaches because they are an imported pest in terms of like they're hitchhikers. They're not coming from the drains or the outside. Like, it's nothing that we can prevent. We can just kill the ones off that are there currently, and there's no way for us or you as the customer to know whether or not more have been brought in. That's just how I sell it at the end of the day. Pretty straightforward, similar to bed bug, not exactly, but somewhat similar type of concept essentially. So hopefully that answers that question, and hopefully the stream quality is doing all right for you guys as well. Haven't checked on that in a little bit. Hopefully everything's doing all right. If you guys are liking today's stream, do me a favor and just smash that thumbs up button. It lets me know, lets YouTube know that you guys like the content, so you'll keep seeing some of the content that we post here, and help other people find it as well. Let's see. DeGreat4459 says, glad you're feeling better. Do you use yard signs as a form of advertising, and how effective is it? You concerned with competitors targeting the houses you use signs at? So I haven't thought about the using yard signs in terms of, like, I use yard signs, but I haven't thought about it in terms of competitors like targeting my houses. In all honesty, I give very little thought to competitors. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I'm keeping an eye on, are the big guys, not even like Terminex working, but like the regional size companies, smaller, Texas or DFW based, are they raising their prices? Like, I noticed a big competitor of mine raised their price about $5 a month for their minimum pricing, which I found interesting based on the current economic situation we're in right now. But I keep an eye on them, but I'm not like stressing out because I do such a good job with like our customer retention process in terms of checking up on customers, seeing how customers are doing, sending out like thank you emails and holiday emails, texts, things of that nature. We're not going over the top or anything like sending out cards or anything of that nature, but we do a good job. We make it very personable. I'm on the phone a lot with like my cousin who owns a business and my brother who works for a big company right now who's going to own his own business eventually, I believe. And They'll even like talk about, sometimes they'll be like, my God, you were with that like I'll mute myself because I know I'm going to be talking to my customer for a minute, and they'll be like, man, like you were talking to that customer forever. I've gotten like 2 services done, or whatever the case may be. Not every time is it like that, but when a customer is home, like I take that extra step to, be personable. Like we're not just a robot company that comes out when like you don't even know it, in and out, like out of sight, out of mind. Like we make it to where like they are not going to want to cancel. I've had it multiple times, especially during door knocking season, where people be like, yeah, this company, they, as soon as I answered the door, I told them I love my company, I'm not going to change, and blah, blah, blah. And of course, they'll still try to sell them. But, they go out of their way to even tell me, like, hey, there are people knocking, but, I'm not going to worry. Like, I'm not worried about them because I've only lost one customer, and that was actually this year, ever, to a door knocker. And he offered them pricing that I just told the guy. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to compete with that, but I'll be here when you need me. Like, keyword there, when you need me. Because I expect them to return at some point. But in terms of how effective they are, I would say, especially once you start getting into populated neighborhoods and, you get to where, like, there's nothing I love more. I have now a few cases where, like, I'll have neighbors that are, like, side by side or across the street or on the same street, if nothing else. Whenever you can start planting those signs to where there's multiple, on a street in one area, that starts to catch people's attention. People, when they're out walking their pets, playing with their kids, even just driving to work, driving home, when they see a couple signs of that same company, it starts to catch their eye, and they start to remember you. There's a bunch of psychology that goes into it at the end of the day that I don't want to bore you all with, but if nothing else, like, things like Facebook ads and things of that nature, it's all about brand awareness and planting your company name in their mind. That way, when they do need you, they know who to call. So hopefully that answers that 2-part question. Clarence Kirkpatrick 2212 says, do you do monthly payments or quarterly payments, and do all your customers have auto pay, and what is the average pay monthly? So we primarily do monthly and yearly, and it's almost split down the middle in terms of who pays yearly. It's starting to be more of like a 60-40 in terms of who pays yearly and who pays monthly. More are paying yearly than monthly because they see that first year that they're going to save about $100. For example, a standard home that's, 2,000 square feet or less, if they're going to pay for the year, we'll just charge $39 over 12 months, which comes out to $468. I usually just say $469 plus tax, and then that's it for the year. Or they can do, $129, or sometimes if my wife is selling, because I forgot to tell her that I've upped the initial, $99. But either way, $99 to $129 up front, and then $39 a month going forward. So how they see it is, okay, it's 39 times 11 plus 129, that comes out to 558. So like we say, you're saving almost $100 your first year by going ahead and paying for the year up front. And in terms of an average, I would say the average, if you're looking at it from because you said the average pay monthly, I would say my average for general pest only is probably around $44 a month, because I have some that are like $60 a month, some that are, because in DFW, the houses are widely, there's some that I treat that are 5,000 plus square feet. Then there's some that are literally around 1,000 to 1,500 square feet. So, my absolute minimum that I'll go, like my bare minimum, we're talking like a little townhome, condo, something of that nature. The absolute lowest I will ever go is around $29 to $32 per month. And that, again, is just standard general basic pest control. And again, that's if they're paying for the year. So if they're paying it for the year, it's really not a whole heck of a lot. You're talking about $350 plus tax for the year. Again, this is like bare minimum. Or for those, they're paying 29 times 11 plus 99. which usually those customers tend to go the 99 plus 29 a month plus tax going forward. So they end up, it still ends up being just over $400 a year, which, for me, that's like the lowest end of the stick in terms of like what I make. But I'm not like, how I always look at it too is I'm like, dude, if I were to fill up a whole route of these little smaller homes, right, and a full route is around 700 customers, that's $292,000 a year, or you're looking at an average month of around $24,000 a month of production, which is a great production route because, if you're paying your guy, say, 20%, he's going to make about $5,000 a month pre-tax, which is going to be a salary of around $58,000 a year, which is not bad at all. Now, again, that's, just working out math. Math is what it is. It's just math at the end of the day. But that, is just for like the general pest control, because I see the question was primarily, it looks like, about quarterly pest control. I've done a video with the whiteboard where, we get $1,200 plus per year out of a lot of customers as well for things like adding termite stations, rodent stations, mosquito, like customers who are wanting everything. But for like just general basic pest control, like I said, our average is going to be around 44 a month over 12 months, which comes out to about 528 per year. Again, if you were to work that out to like a full route, you're looking at 369,000 a year divided by 12, 30,000 a month roughly. And by the way, we're not at that number yet. We're getting there, but we're not there yet. That's just, the average that I'm at right now. So hopefully that answers that question. Next one comes from, let's see, Karate Chick. That's a dope name. Do you put your home address as your business address on your paperwork and business cards? If you do, you like your customers knowing where you live? So I don't put my, business address, home address in that case on my business card because it's not really needed, in all honesty. I just put my phone number, my name, company, and then a QR code that takes them to the website, as well as my email. I don't know if I said email already or not. And on our Google business profile, we did use our home address, but, it's not as big of a deal as you think. Now, the best way, in my opinion, if you are worried about this, is one, to either, you still have to use your home address on Google, but you can put it as don't show address, and you'll just have your service area. You'll be a service area business, or you can still show it if you want, and then work your way up to having an office space to where you can then transfer your business address, from your home address to that office location, if that makes sense. And there's even like virtual offices you can do this with. I was looking into it a little bit. Some of them are BS, some of them are good, but they also want you to be listed as a service area business and not show the address. So if you're gonna try to go like the virtual office route, just be sure that you're gonna have like a physical location that will show up on, the Google map pack, if that makes sense. Let's see. 956 Exterminator 8 says, I live in South Texas. In 14 years, I've never been asked for my SDS. Oh, he was commenting on the video about like must-haves for your business. So, yeah, when it comes to that, that is more so just to cover your ass more than anything, because legally, if a customer asks you for an SDS, you are legally obligated to show them that SDS label for, whatever chemicals you're using on the property, and TDA does want you to have that. So I don't know if he was referring to hasn't been asked by TDA for it, or hasn't been asked by a customer for it. I haven't been asked by a customer for it myself either. But yeah, so it's one of them things, like I always talk about with my old Glock 43X. I say better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it at the end of the day. How's it going, Crump Man? How do you price German? Okay, yeah. You asked that question. You must have just joined in. I actually just answered that question, probably 5 to 10 minutes ago, roughly, unless if I lost track of time, maybe 10 minutes ago, roughly. Yeah, I think you asked that question on the short, and I just went over that. I went over the fire ant treatment as well as I think I did fire ant treatment first and then the German roach treatment right after that. So you should be able, if I believe on YouTube live, like if you're watching live, you should be able to scroll back in the stream, I believe, because I did go over it pretty in depth for it. Who are you using for marketing? Website looks pretty done. Oh, no, I appreciate it. So, actually, everything you see on my website right now is all me. I use Gorilla Desk. They are like the actual creator of it's called the theme, because with a WordPress website, you have your theme, which is, pretty much like the header and the footer, if we get down there eventually. The footer, but like the map that I put in here, that's me. All of these internal links to all of our location pages, that was me. I've actually edited a lot of this in here because once they hand you over access to the theme, you can make edits to it as well. I just haven't really messed with it a whole lot other than putting, my own map in there, a secondary footer as well. But everything on this website is actually, it's all done by me, which is still annoying. This video is supposed to be full screen, like with no margin right here. And this damn form, it keeps showing the letters in dark when it's supposed to be showing them in the white letters. I'm going to have to contact the company, Formidable, that I bought the forms that I created with, because it's something with their plugin. But yeah, no, everything that you see on my website at this point, it's all me. Same thing going on right here. This is in freaking dark letters as well. It's a never-ending game when it comes to the website, I'll tell you that too. But yeah, everything that you would see on here, it's all me. In terms of marketing, I do 99% of the marketing as well. We are using a new company that I found out about in a pest control owners group that I'm hesitant right now to mention, just because anything, I always like to try it out first, see how it goes, then, give you guys an honest, quote unquote review of them. And I haven't been using them long enough to know for certain if it's a good product that they put out. They're like a AI-based type of company that they manage Facebook ads for you. Essentially, it's around $390 to $400 a month, and you just tell them that, hey, I want this zip code, a 10-mile radius, 20-mile, whatever radius you want. 10 is the minimum, but I want this zip code, 10-mile radius to target, and they create the ad for you, they manage it. They just need to know what dollar amount per day you want to spend on it, and then from there, there's a couple tools that they have. This is actually their tool right here, where you'd send a message or whatever. And the cool thing about how that's set up too is just you get their phone number and everything to put into your CRM as well, and they technically have their own CRM built into that on top of that. Which I got a little issue there that I'm gonna have to solve, because these two buttons are right over top of each other. But yeah, like I said, it's still very early on. I've only been using them for about 2 weeks now, something like that. And we have gotten one customer for the first time from a Facebook ad. We've had multiple people actually reach out to us from the Facebook ad. So I mean, And they just actually made an edit to it. They called me for like a follow up, how's it been going, this and that. And we made some adjustments like to the ad, because I was telling them, yeah, I mean, we've had like 4 or 5 people hit us up on the ad. Only one of them, was sold, and only maybe 2 of them were qualified. So I was like, we're not really getting too many qualified people right now. Like some of them were out of the service area, and so we made some adjustments to it. And yeah, that was literally like Tuesday or Wednesday. And it usually takes about a week or so for any adjustments to take, like, how do I explain it? Like the Facebook algorithm, depending on how much money per day you're putting into it, kind of like Google ads. The more money you're putting in for per day, of course, the quicker the algorithm catches on. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Like I said, still very early. Regardless if it's good or bad, I'll end up doing like a review on them and let you all know what company it is and all that. One of you all actually knows about them already. I think Salvador, he knows about them as well. But like I said, I'm just trying to see, how it is or isn't before recommending or not recommending. Trying to give them more than enough time, at least a month or so, before the verdict is out on them. I'll watch this again. Okay, yeah. You'll be able to see it. Clean shave. Oh my God. Oh yeah, that was on accident actually. Puma Pros. Yeah, I almost didn't even want to go live because of that. So what was it? Thursday night. I went to trim my beard. I try to remember to trim my beard up like once a week. Grabbed the wrong clip. I have like 2 sets of clips that, go on my trimmer that it just came with. One of them I should just throw out because I never even use it. And I grabbed the wrong one, didn't look at the label. One is labeled A and B. B is the one that I use. It's a little bit more of a, more for actually trimming a beard versus shaving it. And I threw that A1 on, and I just knew immediately. I went into it like right here, and I just heard a and I was like, oh. And I looked up, and sure enough, big old freaking patch was gone, and I was like, great. And it's like down to the cheek, so I was like, well, guess we're just gonna start over. Almost perfect timing for No Shave November, I guess, but yeah, fun stuff. And that was right when I was finally getting over my little stomach issue I was having and stuff too, so it was a very fun week or so last week. Let's see, trying to see if there were any more questions on here. Someone asked on our Loomly video. If you all don't know what Loomly is either, that is a social media posting platform that we use, which is very good, as a matter of fact. Like, it takes the whole posting on Facebook, Instagram, your Google business profile, all of that. It makes it so much easier. You just simply go in here. You just simply, create your post. I say it's easy, but obviously sometimes I forget as well. You just go in here, create whatever post you want to make with, your link. Let's take a look at this one, for example. So this is how it'll look on Facebook whenever it posts, how it would look on Twitter whenever it posts, Instagram, LinkedIn, and then of course the most important one, Google Business Profile, which will give you a backlink to those links as well that you post in there. The pricing on it, what would they ask? They ask, oh shit, there we go. Let's see, but is all of this included in the standard pricing package? So the one that I have is standard. I didn't know actually that they have another package available, but everything that I use on here is on their standard version, which I believe is like right around $20 a month or something like that. But this is a very good platform. It's like $20-$30, maybe more at this point, but we paid for a whole year. It was something like $300 for the whole year. So that came out to what, like $25 a month or something of that nature. Just paid it once and was done. I think I have to pay for it again in like February or March, but Yeah, I definitely like this platform. It's very easy to use. It'll give you little notifications like if a post fails to post for some reason, what happened, all that good thing, all that good stuff. If you have multiple locations, you can even, create a new calendar for like that different, you know, calendar business, whatever the case may be. There are other things you can do in there. I don't really utilize it in all honesty. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty, yeah, this is my first time even looking at this. So, yeah, it's actually pretty cool. It'll tell you, the reach, engagement rate, all that cool stuff. Yeah, I mean, actually, that's pretty neat. And that's just for the Facebook overview. It doesn't. Okay, I wish that would be awesome. If they could somehow add the Google Business Profile, like see some kind of analytics for that, that would be pretty cool in all honesty. Because, yeah, I mean, they have it for everything else, so it's kind of interesting that they don't have it for the Google Business Profile. So I don't know what this means by total followers. I'm assuming it means like new followers, maybe, because we have more than 2 followers on Twitter. Yeah, it must be because like this is stuff from recently. Oh, it's from the last week. Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, that is a cool platform. It makes posting so much easier. Let's see. Thanks for the info. Looking forward to the review. Yeah, yeah. How's it going, John? John Gammon. Just started with Gorilla Desk. I'm entering all the customer info. Do you have any videos about? Oh yeah. We've got, man, how many videos on Gorilla Desk now? Probably at least 3 or 4 that I know of off the top of my head. There may even be more, in all honesty. We have at least 3 or 4, though, that I can recall off the top of my head. I probably need to post another update just because they've had a pretty big update recently where their dashboard looks amazing now on the desktop platform for tracking a bunch of other stuff versus having to go into each and every other type of report. It's all just kind of right there now on the dashboard. So I'll probably have another update video about Gorilla Desk at some point for you all, because I know there's a lot of people who haven't started their business yet too that are looking around at, do they want to use Gorilla Desk or Field Routes, this and that and the other. So I'll have to post another update about that. But I do have some videos on the channel, most definitely. I'm from New York, and let's just say Terminex doesn't have the best reputation here. Yeah, no. Terminex in general, most places, doesn't have a great reputation. How was it working for them? So, I mean, they pay good. I'll say that. Like, they definitely pay well. Like, just to put in perspective, like, what was it, my last year or maybe the year before? My last full year, so that would have been 2019. I took off, the max time possible for when my daughter was born. I think I took off I took off 1 month for that, and then I had to take off another couple months whenever I had they were trying to figure out, did I have like a brain tumor or, was it anxiety? Turned out to be panic attack disorder. But pretty much I only worked 9 months out of the year, not including vacation time on top of that. So I really only worked about 8.5 months to 9 months out of the year, and I still made over $60,000. So to make that much money when you only work 2/3 or 2/3, 3/4 of the year, not real bad. From the pay side, it's not real bad, but management and the corporate BS, it's not as bad or as noticeable when you're first starting out, but the more that you're there, the longer you're there, you just start to realize this is bullshit, this is bullshit, this is bullshit. It just starts to kind of wear on you. But if you're somebody that's naturally positive and doesn't really point out the corporate BS, then even my own brother, because he works for Terminex right now, he'll get on the phone and, he'll complain for a minute about, some of the corporate BS, the meetings, or whatever the case may be. And then usually he'll even turn around and be like, but without having a college degree, where am I going to go and make, he's still within like his first year of like, their pay scale, like you get a percentage type of raise every year that you're there. He's still within his first year of tenure. That's what it is. Like his first year, and he's still making like $6,000 a month. So he's like, where am I gonna go? Being a 20, how old is he now? Like 22, something like that, 22, 23. Where am I gonna go at 22, 23 years old with no degree and make, 6,000 a month, only working like 4 to 7 hours a day? Because of course with pest control you have some days that are super short and some days that are a little long, but our version of a little long is like an 8 or 9 hour day. And he's just like, man, I'm making what comes out to like $40 an hour. Like, where am I gonna go make that somewhere else? Like, I'll put up with the corporate BS for as long as I can, essentially. So I mean, glad you started your own company. Yeah, no, I mean, I kind of got tossed to the wolves, in all honesty. I mean, I was already a believer of God and, follower of Christ, all that, which, forever, for whoever's not, like, that's not a deal breaker. You don't have to, like, not watch my stuff. I'm not, like, a Bible thumper or anything. But, man, just how that whole situation went down just, like, strengthened my faith that much more because, I was really starting to play it safe that last year or so, which is what led to the whole panic attack disorder, because in chronic stress, there were multiple things. Of course, they try to label you with all this BS, but some of it was real. Like, I was constantly stressed out, just hated everything. I got to the point where I was hating everything there, but I was playing it safe because we just had our first daughter, and I was like, I gotta do what I gotta do. I gotta have health insurance. I want to have a 401k, 529, this and that and the other. And, then right around, of course, during COVID, it was like God just kind of went, boop, now's the time. Like I said, coincidentally, 4 days before becoming a certified applicator, losing my job just out of the blue for doing stuff that, everyone at Terminex does to get their route completed. I'll give you guys the actual story real quick. Like, it was literally, I still remember to this day, it was near the end of the month. Customer, when it comes to your pay at Terminex, part of it is your route completion percentage. And I was like 1 or 2 stops from hitting the max percentage to become what they call a 5-star technician, or 4, something like that, 4 or 5-star, which is a big bump in pay. We're talking like $1,000 to $2,000 bump in your pay for the month. And I convinced the lady to go ahead and take her service, because she was like, what'd she say? She was like, is there any way we can do it next month? And I just told her bluntly, I was like, to be honest with you, like, I'm depending on getting your stop done for, like, making I didn't tell her the exact amount. I was just like, a considerable amount of money. I was like, I'll lose a considerable amount of money if I don't do your job. Like, if you're not home, like, that's fine. Can I just complete the outside and then schedule a follow-up for you? And she was like, yeah, no, that's fine. Well, then, like, 2 or 3 days later, the manager called me in and said that, she called in saying that she told me not to do it and that I put her in financial distress or something, when her service was like $79 a quarter. But whatever. I was just like, okay, like, where are we going? I was like, well, what are we doing exactly? Because, like, you guys want me to complete these services out. I can show you where, like, she told me, like, it's okay. Like, what are we doing? And they were like, well, we're just gonna, I hadn't ever been written up either, keep in mind. Hadn't been written up. I had a verbal warning because I mouthed off in a meeting because I was rightfully pissed off about pay, of course. But I never had, like, an actual write-up for anything ever. And even that verbal warning was, like, 1 or 2 years prior to this. And that manager was just like, well, we're just going to have to let you go. And I was like, oh, okay. And I just kind of chuckled. I said, y'all do realize I'm about to be certified this weekend, right? I was like, you just fired me. So your non-compete goes away. I didn't take any of their customers. I had one of my old customers actually find my company online a year into business, and they've been a customer since. But I've never gone after any of their customers, even though I probably should at this point. But I was just like, what are you doing? I was like, why would you know this is a bad move? And they were like, well, we're just doing what we have to do. And I was like, okay. I was like, it is what it is. Time to start the business. And obviously the rest is history. But like I said, I just look back on it going, man, like that was God just kind of just give, because who knows how long I would have kept making excuses for not starting the business, because I kept telling myself, like, obviously I got to get certified first, but then I was like, I need to get some money saved up. And then once I had the money saved up, I went and bought a freaking car with cash. And then I was like, okay, now I need to save some more money back up. And then, well, now that I got money saved back up, like, what do I do about my 401k and health insurance and this and that? And then, it was like right around when I started questioning all that stuff, God was just like, here, give you that shove. Like I said, the rest is history. I do got to get on getting some health insurance, which is going to be a little bit stressful, but I can definitely say it's been the best thing that, could have happened for sure. Trying to see if there was any other questions that I might have missed here. Let's see. Not seeing anything else really. I went back as far as like a month or two ago just to make sure if I'd missed any questions in the past or anything, I would have gotten to them. Just making sure that there's nothing else in here. Good for you. Yeah, no, and that's why I tell everybody, I'm like, regardless of where you are, I mean, just to put in perspective, and I'm probably going to do a video about this, because not even just for people looking to start a pest control business, but people that are looking to, like, make a leap to start any type of business, like, just to put in perspective, like, I'm out here on my own. I mean, of course, I have my wife helping, a little bit here and there, and she's a stay-at-home mom on top of that. But, like, on top of, she's doing everything around the house practically, on top of, helping answer some phone calls occasionally and things of that nature. But, it's me, and I have two daughters that are under 5. One is 4, one is less than 6 months old. And then, of course, I got my wife, and then me, and we're in our 20s. Like, if I can do it, like, anybody can make that leap. Like, don't do what I was doing where you're like, man, what about this? What about this? What about this? Just jump in and you'll figure it the fuck out. Like, I cannot stress that enough. It sounds reckless, but that's what entrepreneurship and owning a business, like, that's why, everybody talks about, oh, the CEO makes the big bucks and the owner of this. Like, yeah, that is why we make the big bucks, motherfucker, because we're the ones that literally recklessly go out here and put our balls on the line every single day, when we could go to 0 and have to just start completely over like we just graduated high school or something all over again. So just make that leap. Let's see. I don't think I've heard you talk about how you start happen. What was your startup cost? So I have brought it up a little bit. Usually it's when someone just brings it up in the chat. So I sold the car that I had bought, cashed out my 401k. I had somewhere around $10,000 to $12,000 total. We put, I think it was $1,000 or $2,000 down on my first truck. Obviously, had to do the whole licensing, which was a few $100 for, the business with the Department of Agriculture licensing and all that. Getting the rig, which we got a good deal on the rig, hooked up and everything, was like $1,500. Had to get some chemical, a few $100 to get started. Got a big old 40-pound box of Niban or Entice, something like that. Some equipment, of course, a few $100 here and there. All in all, to get set up I want to say I spent like half of the money. I spent like $5,000 to $7,000 to get started, and then we set up our Google local services. Um, and the calls just started coming in. I mean, we had anywhere between first month or so was a little slow. We only had like 5 to 10 calls a month coming in, and then it seemed like right after the turn of the new year, like going January into February, the calls just started coming in. And I mean, there were months where we had 50 to 80 calls total. And that's what really got us going and, getting us to that 6-figure level within that first year. So, yeah. Like I said, in terms of overall startup costs, if you want to include cost of advertising with Google Local Services, you're probably talking about $10,000 roughly getting going. But yeah, within that $10,000, we got to the point where we had like some recurring income month to month of like, I don't want to, when I say recurring, I don't want to include like termite treatments, exclusions, one-time services, things of that nature. We got to the point where we had like 3,000 to 5,000 a month of actual true recurring, like monthly, quarterly, because we were still charging quarterly in some cases at the time, yearly income kind of piled up from there, if that makes sense. So, yeah, no, like I said, I just wanted to kind of hop on here for a little bit today. I know I hadn't done a live stream or anything, and man, God knows how long. It feels like it's been forever since I'd been on. Hopefully, the stream quality and everything has been doing all right today. Hopefully, we hadn't had very many issues or anything with any audio or anything, but of course, if you all are new and you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That way you won't miss any future live videos or live streams or videos or shorts or anything that we post. Now that we're starting to slowly get into slow season here, hoping to kind of get back in a little bit of a rhythm of doing, a live stream, once a week for you guys and posting some more videos, answering questions through videos and things of that nature. So keep on firing those questions away in the comments down below after this stream goes from a, live stream to a video. And if you're not already in our Discord group chat or our Facebook group, you can click my LinkTree down below. They're free to join. I don't charge to, join any of our, mastermind groups or anything like that. We got about 100 people now in our Facebook group. We've got a couple hundred, few hundred even in our Discord group. Love to see those communities continue to grow. Don't be shy with each other. Feel free to ask away any questions. There's a lot of helpful people in there. Don't be shy about it. And if you have any like needs or anything in terms of tools for your business and things of that nature, there may be some links in the link tree as well. If not, there's also links in my description box for like tools that we use in our business for our pest control business. Like I think I have like a Webster pole that I found on Amazon that has been amazing. I just had my first issue with it yesterday. It got kind of locked up. I don't know if it's from me leaving it out in the rain or something and I need to kind of work with it or what, but it's already lasted us like 6+ months and it's an amazing Webster pole. But yeah, I got links down in the description box and in our link tree for you guys. If you need anything or wondering about anything, just check those out. And like I said, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments down below after the stream goes from a stream to a video. Otherwise, I will see you all in the next one. Take it easy and have a good weekend, everybody.